incredible guest, Calahan Skogman. I asked him what it was too, and I already forgot. I'm the worst. Is a writer, poet, and actor born in Davenport, Iowa, raised in Wisconsin. He earned his MFA at the University of Southern California School of Dramatic Arts and is best known for his leading roles as Matthias Halavar in Netflix's Emmy-nominated show Shadow and Bone, based on the book by Leigh Bardugo. He will appear alongside Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell in A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey that's coming out later this month. I know we're all really excited for that one. Blue Graffiti is his debut novel. Today he is joined in conversation with his Shadow and Bone co-star Ben Barnes. Ben is an actor and singer best known for his roles in The Chronicles of Narnia, Westworld, and The Punisher. Most recently, he starred in The Institute, which premiered last month. He also released his debut solo album, Where the Light Gets In, earlier this year. So please give me what is it? Please, let's give a round of applause and welcome our guest. Thank you.
Hello. Oh wow.
Loud.
This is wow. It's very powerful. Okay then. Hey pal. Hello everyone.
Hi.
I wrote things down in a notebook. Welcome to Ben Barnes and Noble Bookshop. That's the first joke I wrote down. That's a good start. Cal asked me to he was like, oh, will you come and moderate my paperback book launch? And I said, yeah. But does it have to be serious? I said no. Absolutely not. So I ran with that. For those of you who don't know, this is Calahan Skogman.
Woo! Hi, Cal.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. I really, really appreciate it. Calahan, as you heard in that little intro, we have worked together before. Cal grew up in a small town as a star athlete, and then went on to become a collegiate football and basketball star, and then decided to give it all up because he wanted to be in the play. So then, of course, he got onto the UCLA Masters program, which is a very difficult course to get onto, and then straight out of that, managed to get a big role on a certain Netflix fantasy show where we met. He just acted opposite Margot Robbie in a film. He's a poet. He's fast on his way to becoming the High Rocks fitness champion of the world. He casually dropped into conversation last night that he just won the Chicago team triathlon last week, which I didn't know. He's 6'5", 220 pounds of pure muscle. He's a published author and one of the nicest men I've ever met in my life. Is this why you don't have any friends? Yeah, that sums it up. That sums it up. Actually, I think I need you to introduce me everywhere I go. That was quite nice. Good. Good. Well, of course, he does have at least one friend. One friend who is joining me. Some would say friend, some would say mentor. Some would say inspiration. Yes. You've said I've been an inspiration to you. Role model, mentor. I was going to say something that I'm not going to say. Did I inspire you to write this book? Absolutely. How so? Sheer force of gravitational spirit. I'm sure that's a lovely compliment if you know what it means. Well, sometimes I just throw like 5 random words together and see how. Oh, we know. Very good, very good. I'm just gonna be red-faced this entire time. No, this is a beautiful, nostalgic, sentimental lyrical book for those of you who read it. Who has read Blue Graffiti already? Just now, 5 minutes ago, sitting in the car.
Hey, that's good. We'll take it.
It's a very, very, very beautiful and very personal feeling book. I had the pleasure of I should have read it before. No, I actually had the pleasure of reading it. I had the pleasure of reading it before it was written by Calahan Skogman, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Who wrote the version that I read?
Well, I signed an NDA, so can't bring those names up. They're out there.
When I read this book, he was using a really funny pseudonym, which we can't say what it is apparently. My first question is, are you proud of yourself?
That's a good question. I would like to say yeah, but I don't know. I don't really. I wouldn't say that's my best. One of my toxic traits is probably a lack of real pride in myself sometimes. I think it's just, you can get on this carousel of always trying to prove something else or accomplish something else, or you kind of get wrapped up in the legs of ambition in some way, and then all of a sudden you forget that you spent countless hours pouring your soul into something like this, and it's out there and people are receiving it with love. And sometimes I think that I don't know, like subconsciously forget about that. Then I'll come to an event like this, and of course there's real pride that you know what, I think I feel it the most when someone like really comes up to me and meaningfully says the book has like touched them in some way, and then I'll be like, that's a good thing to have done. Whereas like the pride over like writing the book, finishing the book, selling the book, I never really experienced a lot of pride over that part. I think.
What about starting it? What was the moment where you were like, I'm gonna write a book.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start writing a book today.
Yeah.
When like, because you were, it's not like you weren't busy.
No.
So when were you like, oh, I'm gonna like devote a lot of my time every day to like writing this kind of book?
Yeah.
What was the genesis of that feeling? Because a few months ago was like, I'm gonna write a book, and then I didn't write a book, but you thought that, and then you did write a book. So like,
yeah. Well, you know,
talk us through that.
At the time, I felt like I had time on my hands, and in a way, it was kind of towards the beginning of the season of COVID, where everything kind of really did slow down. I found myself reading a lot of literature and diving into some of my old favorites and classics, and I found myself very inspired. I think I had been writing random stuff before that, like loads of poetry and screenplays and stuff of that nature. I'd never written a novel. I'd never like studied writing. I mean, obviously. I'm just kidding. But
there's no room for that self-deprecation. If anyone's going to sort of tease or mock you in this, it's me. It's my job.
I was getting ahead of it.
You can't do it yourself.
It.
No, you can't.
So yeah, I think I had I had the impulse that it was something that I could do, and I thought that maybe I should. And like I said, I was very inspired at the time, and I didn't have a plan for where it was going to go. I felt like I kind of understood, like, the form of it, like how a story could come together in this shape instead of like a screenplay or, you know, short form stuff or whatever. And so I had an idea of the lead character. I kind of knew where he was at the beginning of the story, and then I just wrote it. And what I said to myself was I was going to write like 4,000 words a day, and every day. And I was going to I was going to commit to that, and I wasn't going to touch it. I wasn't going to edit it. I wasn't going to read it over, and I didn't do any of that. I just hit
It's like stream of consciousness. I'm just going to like
the whole
stick
time.
it up and then see.
The whole time. And like a week into that is when you and I went to Vancouver. And then, so I was also afforded the time to be locked in an apartment for 2 weeks with nowhere to go. And so a large portion of it was written there. And I would just write and write and write and write and write and not doubt myself. And just like, I mean, there's plenty of times where I was just like, this is indecipherable nonsense. But I also didn't think anyone was going to read it. I didn't care about that part. I wanted my parents to read it, my best friends, my brother. It's like kind of why the whole pen name was there. And that wasn't the goal, to get it like widely published or anything like that. It was only until after people responded to that first version. And then I was like, well, maybe more people would respond to it, and it certainly needs a lot of work and editing and a team behind it and stuff, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing at all. And so it kind of just came to be from there. But yeah, I just committed to it, thought I could.
Were you reading something specific at the time, or were you reading any specific authors or a specific book which was making you feel like, I'm in awe of this and I would love to try something like this, or even, well, if they can write, if this is published, I can, because sometimes that's how I feel about music sometimes. I listen to like my idols and I'm like, oh wow, I would love to do something like this, but and then I listen to a song that I'm like, if this is on the radio, surely there's space for something I can make.
Right.
So were you reading anything specific? Do you remember reading any authors when you were like struck with that motivation? Because Cal is probably the most motivated man I've ever, I'm totally in awe of. If I'm in awe of one thing of yours, it's your like daily motivation. Like you just like, get up and write for a few hours, and then you'll go and train, and then you'll do this, and there's no like maybe. There's no maybe for you.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, man. That's really kind. I think I've had that sensation of like, well, if this is out there, then surely. I've had that more in the film space and like the screenplay space, and we get a bunch of auditions or whatever it is, and I've always felt like, oh, I could write this. But with literature, the only things that I've really, because I'm not the most, to be honest with you, I'm not the most avid reader. I've dipped into the world enough to know a lot of the true kind of heroes of the genre, and kind of the heavy hitters and some of the most talented writers and the classics, and to kind of absorb some of their style and of what they're doing and their imagination, and then all of a sudden the inspiration really rises in me, and the writers, but all that to say is that really the only things that I think I've read are generally very, very good stuff. I don't find myself reading a book that's like okay and I like stomach through it, or that's just not gonna happen. I don't have the mental, I'll just bounce. It's like there's so much beautiful work out there, especially with the reading. It's like it takes time. So all that being said, I was reading Kerouac, Hemingway, Cormac during the time, Patti Smith, like these guys, and a lot of that Beat Generation and Burroughs and Ginsberg. And Kerouac really inspired me, and the thing about it was this kind of adventurism and this, but it was really the rhythm of the writing. It's like, oh, I like that a lot. I really respond to that, and I think if I were to write a novel, I think I would want it to be very spontaneous.
Like you'd want it to sound like that almost.
Sound.
Yeah. I actually feel completely that way about acting. Sometimes I'll come up on a specific line in a script and I'm like, I know how I want this to sound.
Yeah.
I know how I want to conduct this line, but
Right.
I don't really know even necessarily what I want it to mean yet.
That's interesting, because I've seen you do that as like just being in your presence when you'll like repeat a line that or you'll say a line, like we'll see a line on the show or whatever, and then you'll like say it to yourself. I don't know if that's necessarily what you're doing, but because I don't, and also when you work on your sides or whatever, like that's a skill that I don't necessarily think that I
just think there's like music to it.
Yeah.
But there's like music to this as well.
No, it's so true.
You know.
It's so true. It is there. It's about the rhythm and kind of catching the wave.
What is very lyrical? Do you have a way to describe your own genre of writing? Do you like, because people ask me that about like
Right.
music, what genre is it? And it's not always easy to, but if you have to, when you do have to, because I'm asking.
Yeah. Well, I hear people put genres on it, or like call it lit fiction or whatever, but it's like, I mean,
Lit fiction?
yeah, literary fiction. But
That's just writing, isn't
Oh, yeah. Well, that's kind of my response to that, but apparently that's an entire.
Oh, it's a specific thing that I don't believe so.
So they tell me. The answer is absolutely unequivocally no. I don't think about that, but I maybe should, or maybe it's my own ignorance coming through where I don't. But like I don't know. It's not like I don't have a plethora of writers that I've studied analytically and like wanted to adopt. Consciously said I want to do this or this or this. It's just like honestly I've just fallen into it, and I've never been under the assumption still to this day that like if someone doesn't like Blue Graffiti or doesn't respect it or doesn't appreciate my writing, that doesn't really. It's funny because I think I'd be more sensitive to it in the acting space where someone could say something to me maybe about my acting and I'd be like ruined for like for who knows how long. But if someone says something about my writing, I generally don't really care.
Yeah.
It's like I'm like yeah whatever. That's not why I did it.
Well,
I don't know.
I've thought about this quite a lot because I think TV shows and films and things like that are something that we all kind of, you scroll through streaming services or you go to cinema or people say, oh, you should watch this, and then you sort of, people say, oh, you've got to give it 3 episodes, then it gets really good. And you sort of, if the acting is bad or whatever, you sort of resent it a little bit, or if the story's bad and you sort of start to resent it a bit. And with music, I feel like I know how I consume music and how I consume now books. When I was younger, I was very type A. I had to finish reading everything, even if I hated it. But then I sort of do what you did, and if I'm not enjoying something after 30 pages, I'll stop reading it. And with music, definitely the same. Like if something comes on, if I'm in the gym with the headphones, if I don't like the song, I'll skip it. And but there's a freedom in that because I think, well, if people don't like the music I make, they'll just skip it. It's not for them. And so do you feel that same way about your...
Absolutely.
Even though they bought it?
Sneaky one. It's like you catch a jab, but you just really lulls you to sleep before it.
$28.
Well, there's the picture on the back.
And he signs all of them, even though no one asked him to.
Yeah. Well, here we are. No, but it is that, because I think I don't really, I don't know, I don't have a genuine attachment to, like, the book could have been read by 10 people and the book could have been read by thousands of people, and I genuinely, I mean, maybe it sounds ridiculous, but I genuinely don't think that would have moved the needle for me in any particular way outside of being like, oh, it's a very nice thought to think that it is touching more lives in a positive way, and like spreading more love and light, and more people are seeing this part of myself and this part of this world that I find to be so beautiful, and I cherish myself. Like, that's a very nice thought, but from a sense of selling all these copies, and I want to like get my work out there as a writer, and it's just like I'm not motivated by that, because there's so many other things in life that I'm also, it's just I'm always, there's so much, so it's like it is what it is, and it lives how it lives, and people can say what they want to about it, and I'm just gonna write because I love to write. I love the experience of it, and maybe I'll publish more books, and maybe I won't, or maybe I'll go do something else, and it's just the sensation of living, dude. It's like, I don't know, I love that part of it, and then
The doing.
Yeah, and then the rest of it is, I mean, what is the rest?
Do you think does that feel like, now that you've done it and it's out there and you've published it and it's successful, and there's a paperback now, does the doing of it and the writing and the process and the structure of that feel like the most important bit, or now that you look back and have this completed thing that you made, does there feel like there's something more important about it existing or in the world? Or
yeah, I'm honestly really humbled by it being out in the world, I think, and very in awe of that, or even still doing events like this, or that people want to hear about it, or have read it at all, like that. I'm not downplaying the significance of that. I think that's incredibly special, and it really, really moving to me. I think what I'm saying more so is like during the I'm not chasing anything with it as far as that's concerned, where it's like, oh, I want to, I'm not thinking about the product. I love sharing it with people and having that exchange, and I know I'm very fortunate to be here and to have it exist and everything, so I think I can step back and appreciate all that, but know that essentially what it is, because there's a world in which I wrote this and no one did read it. So I think the important thing is, or that, you know, there's with our acting careers, you know, at least for me, you know, I can speak for me personally. It's like I spent like the majority of this past year auditioning and falling in love with certain characters and getting very close to things, and then no one ever sees any of that because I didn't get any of the parts. So it's like you better love the process of that exploration and that writing, and that's why I say like that's what I care about the most, because this is outside of my control really, and so that's all a different thing. That makes sense.
So that's about it existing as a book, but what about it existing like as a story? I mean, like,
oh, that it really excites me,
because that's different.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah. So that sensation you get up immediately upon completion of it, whether or not anyone else reads it, or like maybe one other person has to read it, and then you're like, okay, it like.
Because I always feel like a film is just sort of a collection of scenes until somebody who hasn't been involved with it watches it and makes it a film. So
Right.
So do you feel the same way about a book? Like, is it just a collection of chapters until someone who reads it,
Someone
or is
experiences
it
it, yeah.
already a book once it's finished?
Right, like it, yeah, and like is a play, unless they need an audience to make it what it is. Yeah, but I think that's a good question. I think it's maybe it's enough if literally one person witnesses it, and that's fine. And then everything else is extra. But I think it exists. Like you could have one person in the audience, for example, on a theater show, and it could be sensational.
Yeah.
But there is someone witnessing that. But you know, I also do. This is maybe more esoteric or crazy or whatever, or mystical. But I feel like there is a. You know, I'm a very spiritual person, and I feel like I always have a witness to my life, just with my relationship with God, and kind of. Even if no one sees all the stuff that I'm doing in the shadows, like there is someone there, so that helps. But it's good to share it with people, and I think what was I gonna say? That I am proud of. That story. If I'm here, if I'm gone, or whatever, Blue Graffiti lives in a genuine part of my soul lives in there, and I was able to kind of be that witness in a sense that we're talking about to all of the people and the place that I grew up in and that I cherished and loved and felt so romantic about. They can kind of live forever in here, and I'm kind of there. I've witnessed them and I've captured it, and they can go on forever now.
What feels like the most personal part of that? Is it like the town? Is it the protagonist? Is it like what part of it feels the most? Is it like one of the relationships? Like what part of the story feels the most personal to you?
Wow. His relationship probably to his family.
Yeah.
And then his friends. And then Johnson in general and the place. And then probably Rose after that. But it's yeah. I think that those are the things in my life that have carried so much meaning. And when life is really, really difficult, or I find myself in an existential craze of whatever, I return to my family, my best friends, and yeah, I think that's where so much of the meaning is. And I'm a very nostalgic person, so I'm always kind of going back to where I was raised and thinking about it constantly, and it kind of informs so much of who I am. So that's why capturing Johnston was so important. It was this landscape that really forms a person. What am I saying?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It makes sense.
I feel like I just touched down. Did I just get here? I swear, I was like, what?
Do you have a
We're in the
favorite?
kitchen.
Do you have a favorite sentence in it?
Ooh.
Yeah. Should I read it?
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find it, man.
That was one of my questions I wrote down. I was quite proud of that question. Thanks.
Can you vamp for a second?
Yeah. Some of the other questions I wrote down, which I'm not going to ask.
We are stars in the sky, like faraway lamps in a blues-dipped infinite world.
I'll do it again.
We are stars in the sky, like faraway lamps in a blues-dipped infinite world.
Blues dipped.
Infinite world.
What is a blues dipped infinite world? I mean, I know,
No,
but I want you to tell me.
No, man, it's just one of those times where I just 5 random words, you know.
That's so beautiful. I love that so much. What else?
I'll take that.
No. This is for my eyes only. Was there in the process of writing it? You're saying obviously that was like kind of brought you the most satisfaction. Was there a hardest bit, or were there any like sort of hills to get over while you were writing it? Or actually, you've told me that you actually really liked the process of rewriting after you'd had an editor read it as well. Like you really you really enjoyed that because I don't take notes. I don't.
Try taking 1,000 of them.
But you said you actually enjoyed the rewriting process. But what was the hardest? Was there a moment where you were like, I don't know if I had to finish this, or
yeah,
what is this really about, or you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. Well, I'm gonna try and answer 2 things at once. I think one is like I can talk about the editing process really quick, where it's like I think you dance a fine line as an artist about having your convictions and knowing your story and your character and what you wanted to say, and it's your vision, and you're like you have to be protective over that and intentional about that and intellectual about that and understand what all of that is. But I think it's like you have to also be able to open yourself up to the other voice. Like it's a collaborative thing, and if you let your ego kind of pulse too brightly there, you're gonna miss out on all of the stuff that I think can make it a lot better. I think as an artist, writer, certainly as an actor, I think what I try to do, and I think maybe one of my talents as an artist, I hope, is my ability to almost be like, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So please tell me. And please tell me what you see, or like, you know, if we're doing a tape together, I love taking directions from you. I love taking directions from anyone that I respect, and be like, because I'm kind of like, when I'm writing or acting, I'm kind of just living in this intuitive kind of space, and I'm trying to follow some kind of thing inside me, and I don't genuinely always hit the mark or know exactly what I'm doing from a technical standpoint or craft standpoint. And so I like the experience of that. So with the editing process, after like a first moment of being like, oh my God, there's all this stuff on the book, then it's just like, yeah, of course there's all this stuff on the book. You don't know what you're doing. Take the advice, brother. Take the advice, please. And then of course you can still stand strong in what you believe in your vision, but you can take the edits and kind of just make it so much better. So there's that. And then but those were the points where I would say were the challenging points. Writing it initially wasn't the challenging points. It's kind of returning to it, and I like the editing process, but it's a totally different thing for me in particular, because the first thing is just this kind of explosion, this immersion into this world, and I'm dreaming, and I'm drinking the coffee and the wine, and I'm alone, and I'm just like escaping down this landscape of whatever it is, and that's so fun, and so there's so much passion there, and I just love that. The editing thing is like so much more technical, and it's almost like doing the puzzle and writing the score and cleaning it and thinking about it in that way, and it's a much more analytical. So it just requires a different kind of patience and different kind of tenacity, but I don't mind switching over into that side of my brain, but it's harder.
You are a very patient person that in general.
A very patient person?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's so, I've never had anyone say that to me.
I think you're a very patient person. And I also think that quality that you're talking about, that capacity to understand and be open to the fact that there isn't really room for ego in collaboration, or, I mean, to some extent in creativity itself, I think there has to be a little spark of ego to
The audacity
to feel like you want to do something and make something and hold it up. Certainly to publish something, or to release something, or to share something, or to do something in front of people. That certainly requires a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad thing at all. But I do think once you get into any collaborative art, that quality that you're talking about, which actually is something, as I get more further on in my career, I need to actually work at keeping that open. Because when I was a younger actor, I was like, tell me, give me notes, tell me what I should do, and then as I feel like I know more what I'm doing, people sort of say, why don't you try this? And I'm like, why don't you let me do it? Do you know? Well, I want to like say it a different way or whatever. And actually, I have to work at keeping that open, because it's a beautiful quality, and I love it when I'm working with people who are like, it's cool. Let's all chat about the idea and have the best one.
It is, yeah, right. But it is totally a balance, though, isn't it? Because it's like for you, for example, I've thought on many occasions where I'm just like, you're so good at that. Like, you have such a clear and demanding and extremely thought out perspective and idea about the thing that you're doing as an actor, or whatever it is you're doing as a musician as well. But it's like, I would love to get further along that path as well, because sometimes I feel like I'm not as advanced in that way of being like. It's something I really admire, but it is a balancing act too, because it's like, it's like I think about that. It's like, well, your idea is so brilliant. So how do you let someone else's ideas?
It's a balance, because I feel the same when I started doing something new with like music. I was like, everyone in the band tell me how to make this better, and I'm like thirsty to know that,
right?
And to kind of use it, and. The longer you've been doing something else, obviously your confidence in being able to do it. You've
been down the road before.
Yeah.
A few times. Yeah. Makes sense.
You said it was important for you for your if just your parents read it.
Yeah.
Or one person read it. If you could give this book to one person, any person in the world, and know that they read it, who would it be?
Probably I thought about like my future daughter.
Well, just run me through.
Yeah, my kids probably at some point. I don't know, man. I like to think I have this vision of like, I get emotional when I think about it, but it's like, we are in a way here one day and gone the next, and it's like, what? I don't know. Someone could read this book at some point and they could feel like they knew me, I think.
Yeah. I think about that a lot. The nature of how long we're on the planet, and sometimes that makes me, that's the other thing, apart from knowing that you can always skip to the next song, that's the other thing that makes me feel like, well, might as well make something.
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter if anyone reads it or watches it or cares about it.
No.
It might as well make something.
Might as well put it out there. I have a lot of respect for people making whatever it is, and honestly, I think it's nice to remind yourself that. I think we have it in our minds that it's like such a big deal to everybody else what we're doing. It's ridiculous. It's just not true. It's like they even if they hate your book,
but then they can read one of these ones. Like that's honestly that's how I genuinely.
And they will. By the way, they'll last maybe 5 seconds where they're just like, oh, bit of trash, isn't it? Like, or like we'll see a show and like you and I could be watching an episode and we could be like, maybe we're worked up about, or like that thing you're talking about earlier, where it's kind of like you get a little bit of like, what the hell is this? We don't think about that for longer than. If it's really impactful, maybe it goes a day. Yeah, exactly. Or you talk a little bit of shit for a sentence.
Or it can go the other way, and you say like somebody reads it, or even like review. Some people said some beautiful things about this book in writing, having read it, but also just like people having it mean something to them, and people reading it and it feeling like they connect with it in some way. Is like there's very few things more valuable than that, or like that means more. Especially when it becomes about something like however you intended it when you were writing it, or whatever was stirred up in you when you were putting it on paper. I know that feeling myself of like making something and then somebody listens to it or reads it.
Seen, right?
It becomes about but it becomes about them. It becomes about something else.
Right. Yeah, and that's what we do with art. I think we always take it and then make it about. We relate to it.
Yeah.
It's like this thing that we all have, this desperation to kind of be seen and heard and understood and not alone. Right, then on we go.
Well, I'm proud of you either way. And you've made something beautiful, and you put it out. You were brave enough to hold it up to the world for consumption and judgment and digestion. And
thanks, brother.
I think that's a really
thank you.
is a beautiful thing to do, and it's really inspiring. Like he's like written loads of other books as well. He's just like just sort of gets up and gets on with it, and I just find that such an appealing quality. That drive is like an amazing thing to just like create.
I appreciate that, man. You know, it's like you do need someone to say that to you every once in a while, because otherwise. There are moments, there are days when you like, I don't know necessarily why I am the way I am, but there's so much that I'm trying to do or dream about, or like the hours writing in the morning or whatever that no one ever sees, or I don't really talk to anyone about it. But it's like, and every once in a while, like, am I just doing this in a vacuum? But then you realize that the people closest to you see it and witness it, and
Now I'm telling everyone.
I just told everyone, so brilliant.
I would love to ask if any of you have any questions for Cal about anything. Actually, ask him anything. No limits, no holds barred.
Yep. You choose.
Please. Oh yeah, I'm the moderator.
My question is because you know, like when you read things, it influences what you write and how you write it. Because when you look at scripts, like when you're sitting down to write, do you ever have to have that struggle between like showing versus telling, where you're like, you know, like I'm telling too much, I need to just show this emotion? Because you know, with the script, it's very like he walked over to the trash can and threw something at, you know what I mean? Like, but with writing, you have to show certain emotions without telling the person this is what is going on right now. This is how this person feels.
Yeah, well, that's a balance. I guess. Like, I'm not consciously thinking. Maybe in the editing process, I think more about that. I think about that in my acting a lot. In retrospect, like I'll be like, that's so important as an actor, not to, you know, just be indicating everything all the time, just having an experience. But I think it's similar with the writing, and I like descriptive language, and but that's actually more so in environments and images. So I think with the feelings of the characters, I think, and with writing, I think there is so much room for the imagination and for the reader to be filling in the blanks. And I think as a writer, it is important to remember that, because if you pick up you know, we've been talking about like Cormac or whatever, but if you pick up The Road, it's like you're filling in immense landscapes of the blank, what you know, canvases. And people like doing that, by the way. So it's like you can really get away with some minimalism, I think. Let them decide.
Please.
Yeah, I love the audiobook. I listen to a lot
Thanks.
of audiobooks.
Cool.
And I love that you are the one who read it because you really get to hear your voice not only on the page but in the audiobook. If, however, you didn't decide to do the audiobook, was there anyone else you had in mind to do the reading, or anyone else?
Oh, he's got the British accent. So. It sounds nice, but does it work?
Good accent.
I can make it work. He could make it work. Damn. No, I never really thought about who, but I could. But I think it was just always something that I assumed that I would do, because I had the training or like the acting storytelling part of it, I felt like, well, let's put to use. Yeah, I can do this, and then I did, and it was wild. It was such a cool experience, and I hope to do it more often. In fact, I found myself being like, oh, I could do this for other books. I really enjoyed it, but you know, there's a million things. So we'll see.
I love narrating audiobooks.
Yeah.
So it feels like such a pure. No, I'm not saying. Not saying
Too
you should,
late.
Not saying you should do your next one or anything. I'm just saying it's such like a pure thing where you can.
That's great.
Like you go in, you can make a cup of tea, you can take your shoes off,
Yeah.
you can sit there and you can go, no one's looking at me.
Yeah.
I can just tell this story, like just tell the story, but I cannot imagine doing it for your own.
Yeah.
Something you've written. That's like an extraordinary thing. That's like another meta level of personal somehow.
Yeah, it did feel.
I don't really know what meta means, but
No.
you know.
Me either. It's just it was another level of personal. Honestly, it was. But it felt, if someone was going to do it, I felt like I could do it. I knew the kind of the musicality of it and the characters, but when I showed up, I hadn't like practiced any of the voices. It was just something that came out in the way that it did, and tried to remember it when I was on page 300 versus page 12 because I did it over the span of like 2 days.
I highlight them in different colours.
More prepared, like I say.
That's my timer to ask questions. So see if anyone in the audience has any questions.
Perfect.
Yes, lady in the hat.
Question for each of you. With the beats, how do Ginsberg's Hinduism, Kerouac's Buddhism influence your spirituality?
Wow. That's a sick question. I love that question. Honestly,
Maybe repeat it.
Yes. So how did, with the beats, sort of their spiritualism, whether it's Kerouac's Buddhism or down the line, influence my own spirituality? Well, I'll just take the Kerouac's Buddhism thing. I don't really. I think the important thing with that was that I don't really know nor care if he had the whole Buddhism thing figured out, and that's not super important to me. But I think what it did inspire in me is an openness, kind of. I think that's a thing that I'm gravitating more and more and more in my life. I was raised in a Christian household, and I've always been very spiritual, and I've had a relationship with Jesus. But as I've gotten older, it's I'm so much more interested in the wide scope of humanity, and I love a lot of tenets in Buddhism, for example. And I just think I'm just endlessly fascinated by how we all have our different lives and circumstances in different parts of the world, and we're all existing together. And there's so many different views and beliefs, and I think certainty is a tricky thing if it's limiting you. So I think it's like hold fast to your beliefs, but also leave the door open. Maybe. That makes sense. Yeah. So I love thinking about anyone's beliefs or circumstances or ways of thought. So I just find it really, really interesting. So it's always shifting for me, I think. Believe in love. And that may sound cliche, but that's like really that's the thing.
And for you, did you with your how the light comes in?
Yes.
Is it influenced by Leonard Cohen?
Oh, I actually came up with the title of. I was just looking down the list of 15, 16 songs that we'd written, and narrowing them down to what was going to be on the record. And then, honestly, I was just looking down the list of which song title would make the best album title, and then I was thinking, and then it was actually afterwards that I looked up. I was like, the cracks where the light gets in. Surely someone must have said that before, and then realised it was something that Leonard Cohen had said, but it wasn't in a song.
It's a song.
It's a song.
Yeah.
So I stole it from Leonard. But inadvertently, I share it with Leonard.
That's
Cohen.
always a great sign, though. Honestly, if you like authentically stumble upon some profound thing that you think you've said, and it turns out like some other genius said it before.
Yeah,
You're just like,
I thought he had just said it in like a quote, but obviously no, it's in a song as well. So that's shattered my.
I have to do the whole thing over.
belief system. But yes, I do love Leonard Cohen, and so yeah, when I sort of saw that it was something that he had said, it was actually inspired by a friend of mine, and I think that this is a stupid story to start because I don't know where it's, I can't remember the ending, but a friend of mine whose family's from India was telling me that there was I'd scratched my car, and he said, oh, we have a word that is like, with actually, you know, the cracks or the scratches are what lets the good luck, or what lets the light in, and that was what actually made me think of that, and I cannot for the life of me remember the word, and I've tried to look it up, and I've even messaged him about it, but he didn't respond. So, but that was like part of the thought of that. Yes.
I love your style of writing. It reminds me a lot of
Thanks.
like a separate piece, in just like the beauty and the mundane and the everyday, and like you have such a reverence for the Midwest and place in this, and in like painting a portrait of that, obviously there are a lot of like beautiful romantic things that come out of it, but were there any parts that you stumbled on that were really vulnerable to write, that you were like afraid of sharing with family members or friends, because like inevitably a portrait of a place is going to have like those like tough moments as well?
yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. First of all, yeah, there's a collection of things, you know, but I like to preface it with everyone where I was always like, these aren't replicas of anything in my life, you know. It's more of just a bunch of different images and people and kind of a kaleidoscope of everything. So I would just say that, and it's like, now none of you can get upset with me. But of course I'm drawing on my own life and things. I think the stuff with for example, with his father, and the stuff with Rose, and you know, those are intimate parts. I think, yeah, it's like when you feel like you're kind of revealing your own sort of soul in the thing, and your viewpoints, and kind of your wonderings and your own dreams. It's like you kind of wonder how people will respond to that. But it's also, you know, I kind of believe in those visions, and I believe in those ways of life. So I want them to have a voice out in the world, because I think it's competing with a lot of stuff that I don't necessarily agree with, or ways to view romance or love or intimacy or anything like that. Like for those passages in particular, it's like, well, I'm a little scared about, you know, people seeing this side in a sense, but also I want it to be out there because I think it deserves to be heard, and I want to kind of fight for those things out in the world. So, yeah.
I love that, Otto, and I know you didn't ask me anything at all, but I just agree so wholeheartely that it's like making something creative, writing something, putting something out there is like your opportunity to like provide an antidote to a lot of like the poison or ugly behavior or like ugliness that we just like it's forced on us on a daily basis from the outside, and it's like your opportunity to like offer something joyful or hopeful or with some like some faith in it, or some just like an opportunity to like poetically offer something that you subscribe to or believe in, like just to like share it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I thought about it as an antidote in that way too. It's that in a ton of ways. I wanted to move it back in time. I wanted it to be romantic and nostalgic and slow and wandering at times. And that was all very intentional. I wanted it to be able to breathe in a place where maybe nothing's going on, and stand differently in the face of this tidal wave of, you know, crazy consumerism and just everything happening all the time. Like this snap is just going on in our heads all the time, and it's like, well, I want to kind of exist in this other place, or make sure that we carve out a place for this to come with us, because I think it's the lifeblood of who we are. And yeah, I think we're just going down a very slippery slope, to be honest. So
it's like such a patient thing to, when you are offering up such a patient outlook.
Yeah.
To make me actually think of this there's a poem called "The Patience of Ordinary Things," which is one of my favorite poems. And that answer that you just gave it makes me I go back to that a lot as a sort of grounding thing. And that your book, the lyricism of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry. Yes. Either of you.
We'll
Lady
do
in the
both. We'll
blue
do
dress.
both. We'll do both.
So, music seems to play a big part of the book. Did you have a playlist that's very nostalgic when it comes to things you're writing? To this phone number. Did you listen to?
Yeah, well, all of the artists that are mentioned in there, I would kind of cycle between, whether Joni Mitchell or Bob Dylan or Johnny Cash or all these guys, Dave Matthews, all these things. These are kind of the soundtrack of my life growing up that I wanted to kind of fill the book with. When I write in particular, I think sometimes I'll let the same thing play over and over and over and over again. So it's really just the feeling that's kind of pulsing beneath the writing. I remember I wrote there was a few days there where I was just listening to The National and kind of this melodic, dark, emotional kind of river that they are. And they were for that day, it was kind of inspiring me in that sense, or it would change day to day. But music for me is super important. I don't pretend to really understand it, but I think it's always playing, and it's always that. I constantly have this soundtrack in my mind where it feels like music's constantly playing everywhere that I go, regardless. So I wanted to make sure that was in Blue Graffiti.
I'm curious how diving into writing has affected the way that you approach acting and vice versa.
I think I think mostly it has given me the freedom to one of the things that's given me the freedom to not be white knuckling acting in any capacity. Where I know it's not quite the question you're asking, but it does inform my acting because I'm not so attached. I think 5 years ago, if you would ask me that before my books, before a lot of growing up, before a lot of life, I think I still am, but so obsessed with acting and so much I have this dream and this vision, and I'm gonna knock it out and work so hard, and I'm ready for it, and I'm just obsessed with acting in all its forms in film. And that's the dream, right? That's the dream of the kid who was 5 years old and crying watching the Oscars in the basement in Seymour, Wisconsin. That's still me. But I think with writing, it was kind of it's something that's been with you my whole life, and it kind of really acts as this thing where it's just I've got you. I'm gonna be here for you in the morning. You have your coffee. You can just hang out with me. That acting thing. Dude, forget about her. Come spend some time with me. I'm not going anywhere. And I think that process. And I think that really, really changed my life, because when I started to realize that, it's my love for this thing is different but equal. And then it's then as you grow up and realizing my love for my family is even greater than that. And all of a sudden I'm wait, I love racing, fitness racing. I love being strong and whatever. It's I love this. And it's what I think when I was younger, it was I had this loyalty where it's just act or die. I'll do anything. I'll live in a cardboard box on the side of the street if I'm just in a black box theater acting. And I love that. But I also love so many other things about my life. And I've given myself the freedom to be dude, life is way bigger than acting. and as it turns out, once that kind of settles in, it's you have a lot more freedom of the thing. It's oh, you don't want me for the part. sick. I'm gonna go, that means I can race in September, and I can have all this time with my family and my grandma. And it's like, for example, I know I'm wandering now, but I think this is important as an artist. I think, like, I had this realization the other day. There was this role that I was up for, like a couple months ago, and I would have killed to be a part of this. It was a great role. Thought I was gonna get it, didn't get it. And then I realized, because I would have been in like New Zealand right now, I realized, I said to my cousin, I was like, you know what, dude, if I didn't get that, if I would have gotten that part, I wouldn't have been able to be here for this past, because I was in the Midwest this past month helping my family out with some things that I needed to be there for. I was like, I wouldn't have been here with grandma if I got that part, dude. And it's way more important to me than the part. And it's like, that's life, man. And that informs your work. And so I can act more freely, I can write more freely, I can do all of these things with the confidence that it's just like, you know what, it's just, I don't know. It's given me freedom. And these days as an actor, I feel, yeah, more free with it and more like, I'll have my opportunity, and if I don't, I will. And if, whatever. It's like, there's so much. I don't know, what did I just say?
That was the most beautiful answer ever. That was so perfect.
Oh, it was. Okay.
That was beautiful, like stunning.
Okay.
I subscribe just so entirely to everything you just said. Yes, Lynn.
So I have a silly question. So your book comes out, your album comes out. What's your celebratory meal? What's the food you're like, I'm gonna have this. This is the icing on the cake.
I think mainly it's just me trying to convince Ben to have more pizza with me. He'll be like, what are you gonna have for dinner tonight? I'll be like, pizza. He'll be like, no, I can't have the pizza. And I'm like, pizza? It's like, okay, I'll go pieces of pizza with you, Calahan. And then he'll like hate me for it, but love me for it. And I think that's probably a constant. What do you think?
Listen, I love having pizza with Calahan. But I'm significantly older, and I didn't just work out 9 hours in one day. So I have to be a little more disciplined. Okay? It's okay that pizza is a treat. It's not all of the food groups.
I know, I do forget.
Oh, yeah, but yeah, Prince Street Pizza, that's our celebratory. That's our celebratory thing. And actually, he didn't really go into this, but he was saying when we went back to do the reshoots for Shadow and Bone, you probably told this story already somewhere else, but it was during COVID and we had to quarantine for 15 days, which eventually became 14 because I spent most of that time campaigning, telling them that 2 weeks was 14 days, not 15.
I forgot.
And I won.
I remember that.
In the end, they let us out after 14 days. But we were put into these hotel rooms, and they unlocked the door with the key and then said, okay, give the key back. So you literally couldn't go out. It was very strict, and obviously appropriately so, but we were in these rooms for 15 days, and Cal was writing his book and I was writing songs on this little tiny keyboard in the apartment above him. And the only human interaction we would have, not on the phone, was they had these tiny little sort of 4-foot square balconies where I could look down and Cal would come out and look up. And we could chat for we would have a break in the middle of the day where we would just go and chat to each other while making these things that actually became very important to our lives. And that was that dedicated time where you literally couldn't leave this space, was because we were like the only two people from the cast that had to do pick up shoots.
Yeah, it was like 4 of us,
But it was a very important time for both of us, so we bonded a lot over that.
Yeah.
You didn't ask that. Anybody else have any final few questions? Yes, the lady in the back.
Are there any ways that you relate to Cash on a personal level besides the Midwestern life?
Yeah, there's a lot in there. To be honest with you, there's a lot.
It's a good question. I should have asked that. I should have written that one down.
Kind of the essence of who he is in this, and a lot of his his love and loyalty and curiosity and kind of the longing that he has, and also the sadness and the kind of grappling with so many parts of his life and dealing with change and dealing with loss. a lot of me's kind of sprinkled in there.
Especially that longing part. He's very longing. Yeah, what is that? You have a lot of that.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
He's a dreamer.
I'm a dreamer. What can I say?
Yes, lady.
So my question is basically like, after all your experiences, like you kind of said, like before when you were younger, you were so like solely focused on something, and now you kind of see that there's more layers to life and enjoying that. And I guess this is kind of for both of you. What would you tell your younger self now that you know?
The question was sort of, what would you tell your younger self now that you know everything you know about life and creativity and whatever else?
You know what? I think like I've been thinking about this a lot recently as well, because I feel like there's things that I should be saying to myself right now that I'm not doing. I feel like I need to figure that out now. Like what is it? Because I can say things, I can be so kind to my younger self, or see childhood pictures of myself and be like, it's gonna be okay, and you know, to just trust yourself, I think, and be yourself. I think the world tries to tell you who you are, or forces you into boxes, or tries to limit you, and I hate that the most. And to be patient, continue to trust your instincts, man. I think like when I was a younger kid, I was so light and free, and loving and sensitive as it probably gets. And I think when I was very young and growing up where I was growing up, I think I had to find a way to survive. And all of a sudden this other thing rose out of me, which became this very fierce, physical, strong, dedicated, single-minded success, ambition, survival. People respect you, like you, fear you, whatever it is, leave you alone and won't hurt you. And I think it took me a long time to kind of be like, let's just come back to the center a little bit, and you can manage both. And I'm still managing both of these days to this day. So I think it's like, I value those parts of me that came up from the surface to help me survive. And like, genuinely, it's like I'm super thankful for that stuff that rose inside of me to kind of survive the world. But I think it would be to continue to just trust the intuition and the softness as much as possible, and not interpret it as weakness.
A disaster. Am I supposed to answer that as well?
Something like that.
It was sort of what you were saying, though. I think like trusting that the antidote for like, if something feels like it matters, it has a grip on you and it matters too much, remind yourself that none of it really matters. And if you're feeling apathetic that it doesn't really matter, remind yourself that everything matters. Like, I mean, and holding those things at the same time, and understanding that might be difficult to do. Like if it's sort of an abstract thing to like feel confident about or to explain to a 15-year-old version of yourself. But I think the real thing is like, remind yourself that if you're like trusting that you're being like a good man, a good person in the world, that none of it will really matters. But like trying to find that balance of like a scoop of this matters, or a scoop of actually zooming out, that mindful power to like actually zoom out and remind yourself that it doesn't really matter in the end. It can really make it better, make you feel more powerful and stronger and more creative and better served to do whatever you're doing and have more impact with it.
Yeah. Be kind to
yourself. Kind of was what you were saying, yeah. Do we have any like final questions or two? Yes, the lady. Oh, one. Oh no, I don't want the. Who's got a really good one? Yes, you go, hand. Shut up. Was it hard to write the relationship with the father, to put that perspective?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's funny because my dad will come to, like, he was in Green Bay for the event 2 days ago, and he's like the most overwhelmingly supportive, incredible father. And he's just like, sometimes, of course, it's like, why'd you do me like this? I was gonna think I'm this monster. and he's you know, it's a joke between us, but it's what I was looking for, what I was more interested in exploring with that was kind of the generation above my father. I think, and not saying this is my grandfather, but I'm very cognizant of the years of my life where I was kind of small and looking up to these giants and thinking to myself, what are they saying to one another? Like, I can't, the sentences are so short, or I felt like with my grandfather, there was so much, like, it was like I would be like speechless around him because I felt so much out of him and he didn't say anything. And then, you know, so I've always been fascinated with, and some of my friends had horrific fathers or horrific grandfathers or their fathers and their fathers, and I all of a sudden it's really important to me thinking about the kind of the role of fathers and men and masculinity and all of these things. And what I wanted to really dive into was that generation of the quiet, heartbroken, struggling generation of war-torn men, whatever, that are kind of affecting my father, and how that trickles down to me, and what's going on, and how can we, I wanted to explore that intimacy in a way and kind of see this evolution of, and for how far Cash can get to it with his own father, but that recognition of, you've hurt me in this life, and you abandoned me, or I felt like I never knew you, or I felt like I want you to be my best friend. Why can't I be your best friend? And what is that? Like, why does that exist? And I think, you know, how do you forgive, and how do you kind of carry the torch for this generation, and hopefully our generation can do this in a way where we can be the emotionally available but still fierce and strong and defendant and loyal kind of leaders that we should be. And yeah, I was interested in exploring that with Cash and that kind of generation, and getting my hands dirty in there. So I loved exploring that, by the way. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things in the book.
Give it up one more time for the annoyingly talented Calahan Skogman.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you all coming so much. It means the world to me. Thank you for sitting with us. Ben, that was so lovely. You've done a lot of events like that, but I love this. You did such a great job, obviously. Knew he would. And so I think I am going to sit here, and she's going to explain.
One more round of applause, everybody. We're gonna do a little wait, before you go, do you guys want a photo?
Yes.
Do you want a photo together? Desperately.
With this?
Yeah, and then what I'll have you guys, I'll take the photo, you guys stand with them. And can I have all of you guys hold your books up?
Oh, cute.
Everyone, hold it up high, come on.
Thank you guys, bye.
Thank you.